said, the £1 billion bottle jobs. We made a few changes in extra time, but it's true, we didn't keep the energy, and we finished in the second half how we finished. But that line, calling clubs bottle jobs because
Strong.
unfair, unnecessary.
I think it's unfair.
Right.
I think it's unfair. And I think you normally hear it from people that have never been there. It's the first time I kind of heard it from somebody that has been there, like Gary, to be fair to him. But I disagree with him. You know, bottle jobs is far too strong. You got to give Liverpool credit, right? And Chelsea.
We'll stop Ali McCoy. Ali McCoy is a pundit I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I love the way he comes across, how he conducts himself. But he is dead wrong on this. Firstly, just because you haven't been a professional football player doesn't mean your opinion is less valid. Just because you haven't been there and done it and worn the T-shirt doesn't mean your opinion about the game is less valid. I stand by that. As you were watching, fans giving opinions. But they did bottle it. And I think maybe the word bottle has lost its meaning somewhat. Bottle is Cockney rhyming slang. It's derived from the area and manner of which I grew up in. And it basically means bottle and glass. Glass rhymes with arse. And it means your arse went. It means you, quote unquote, shit yourself. That's all it means. And when I look at the way Chelsea approached the second half, how Chelsea approached the extra time period, cowardice. Absolute cowardice. Now, they can say they were tired, yes, but they have the opportunity to make as many subs as Liverpool got to make. Liverpool were fearless. Liverpool deserved a tremendous amount of credit. The way Klopp convinced and made these young players feel ready for such a big occasion, some of them making only their second or third appearances, minimal minutes and minimal experience. That's that's grabbing the ball by the horns. That is showing confidence. That is being, as I've already said, fearless. With Poch, come on, guys, I know we're a little bit tired. Let's sit back. Let's try and absorb. There's a bunch of kids out there. We'll get them on the penalties, guys. For me, that is a very weak, overly negative approach. And I believe it's because they felt they were going to. I believe it's because they didn't want to lose. They didn't want to go all out attack in case they got caught on the counter. So they went for a conservative approach and it failed. That, for me, is the definition in a football context of bottling a situation. You're in the ascendancy at the end of the second half. You've got more experience on the pitch, a better bench. You were dominating towards the end of that second half, as we say, and you just gave it back to Liverpool. Now, Liverpool deserve credit because they were given they were given an inch and they took a mile. And that's because they had the confidence to say, I am, and go and deliver. I think it's wrong to sort of gaslight. And I wouldn't call it lying, but I think we're misleading Chelsea fans if we're sitting here and saying, okay, guys, it was a one-off game. You got to credit Liverpool. You got to credit Klopp and the kids. No. I think Gary Neville called it right. In this particular instance, they bottled it. But I do want to get your views and I do want to get your opinions on this, ladies and gentlemen, in the comment section below.
I think this is the thing that will set City apart this season again. Is once they can see the finish line, somebody always steps up.
Yeah.
Where it used to be Yaya, and be Aguero, and last it was Gundogan. For example, when Arsenal seen the finish line last season, they're like a rabbit in the headlights.
Yeah.
When City see the finish line, they tend to go into Avengers mode, and it's the business end. And I wouldn't be surprised this season if it's Kev. Kev comes back in February, and I think it'll be. I mean, do you know what? I think it's going to be a brilliant season. I don't think it's going to be like a procession.
It's really interesting that Arsenal are in a great run of form. And instead of, again, you guys send me through these clips, you give me your commentary on them, and sometimes I see them, sometimes they're sent into me. And I see this kind of rhetoric, I see these kind of words and just think to myself, Arsenal were on a tremendous run of form. But yet, instead of talking about how good they look in the Premier League, so much of what I've heard from the media, three things I've heard from the media since they destroyed Newcastle. By the way, presented as a banana skin, presented as, well, how will they react to a midweek defeat? Presented as, can they really maintain their league form? I've heard silence from the vast majority. If they weren't directly covering the game, they haven't tweeted, they haven't posted, there's no content, there's no articles, it's disappeared. there is, well, why there's a second option, which is, well, why didn't they do this on Wednesday? They couldn't do it to Porto. How good really are they? They can't beat Porto, but they're beating Newcastle. Does it mean the Premier League's weak? At the same time as saying City are the best team in the world. But, or you got the third option, which is just deflect away from the form. Deflect away from the ridiculous stat that they've only conceded 7 shots on target in their last 5 games, ignoring the 25 goals in their last 6 games, ignoring the form of Saka, the form of Rice, the form of their centre-backs, the form of Kivior at left-back. And I'm probably missing some names here. Ignoring all of that and focusing on, well, City are probably going to win the league still, though, right? And I keep going back to it, and I know you guys will say, Terry, change the record. I can't. I'm not going to stop beating the drum until we get better analysis. Now, I understand that, Noel Gallagher. Is it Noel? I don't know which. What was one of the Gallaghers? Is it Noel Gallagher? No, it's his brother, right? I swear this is not Noel Gallagher. Maybe it is Noel Gallagher. I get confused. Yes, it is. It is Noel Gallagher. And I know he's not a professional pundit, okay? But he's still sitting there on a radio station with millions of viewers per show they put out. And I just think to myself, it's not that he's wrong per se. So why is that the conversation after Arsenal have been brilliant? And it's very similar to this clip from our Bangalore that was sent through to me this morning by an Arsenal fan saying, why would this be the talking point?
The Arsenal fans still annoyed with Alan, and Arteta will regret is spending a lot of his transfer budget on Havertz. They've got Vieira, they've got Smith Rowe, who are probably better than Havertz in the same position. For me, Arteta has cost Arsenal the title by spending money very stupidly.
Again, it's just, someone sent me this clip through, and I'll tell you, why is this even a talking point right now? And I agree. And I understand the logic. I understand the logic that if they'd have spent that money on a prolific goal scorer, say they come second, you could look at it, if they hadn't bought Kai Havertz and bought a prolific goal scorer, they would have won the league. You could also argue if they didn't have Kai Havertz and they bought a prolific goal scorer, they could eventually be a hole somewhere else in the team, and they wouldn't have accumulated the opportunities for the goal scorer to take. I'm not saying that's the case, but it's one of those arguments where it cannot be proven or disproven in either direction. But again, why is this a talking point after a brilliant Arsenal win? If somebody could explain that to me, it would make a hell of a lot of sense. It's I've said it before and I'll say it again. The way I see 2 teams in England, Man United being one of them and Arsenal being treated, we've seen earlier, McQuist, typically speaking, defends a lot of clubs, so I'll give him credit for that. But the amount of journalists and pundits having a go at Gary Neville and saying, well, you can't call Chelsea bottle jobs. They've got a young team as well. Come on, this isn't fair. Defending him, defending Poch. The amount of pundits and journalists talking about how Poch needs to be, Poch is this great manager. It's not his fault. Don't put any of the blame on him for anything that's going wrong. And I understand that Arteta's been at Arsenal longer, so there's more judgment now upon him, etc. But at the same time, I look at it and think, this man is smashing it in the league. He's been in the title race 2 years running. Yes, he's had some disappointing results in the cup competitions this year, but the level of criticism he is receiving after winning games, him being downplayed in comparison to other managers who are failing, I find it ridiculous. Now, like I've said, it doesn't mean the individual points being made are necessarily wrong, but the question is, why are these things talking points? They're not talking about this when it comes to clubs that are nowhere near performing at Arsenal's level, but only with them. And I can only see it is because they're fearful of them. They hate them. They're scared of them. And they want to play down what they're doing. So everything has a negative spin. They win a game. Yeah, but City is still going to win the league. A player performs well. Yeah, but they probably could have done with buying somebody better than him anyway. It's the only team I see competing at the top end of the spectrum where everything positive is they attempt to debunk it with something negative. You don't see that anywhere else. You don't see it with any other team. It's crazy to me. Maybe I'm misreading it. Maybe I've got it wrong. You can all let me know in the comments section below, but I find it crazy. Listen, everyone who has tuned in, I want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you. We'll see you on the Top 6 show later, 6 p.m. UK time. Make sure you're tuning in, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.